So we're live, PC Division 2. This is PPR Esports. Once again, we're back. This is the Division 2. So the guys who couldn't quite make it into the Division 1, but certainly pace is all available. We have 12 drivers that have flown into the United Kingdom. All of them have passed their mandatory coronavirus testing. And as you can see, a lot of the drivers have not got their teams have not got their masks on. I'm sure they'll be penalised by the FIA. Welcome everybody. We're streaming this live on YouTube, and I'm glad to be in the booth. Well, actually down in the pit lane. I'm relaying this up too. In the booth we have for you this evening is the fabulous Mr. Jim Bob Jeff, and also joining us from down under, all the way down in Victoria, is Shiv. Welcome, guys.
Sure. Thanks, Aaron.
Morning, evening, afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So I haven't seen a lot of the pace of these guys, so it'll be very interesting how they go.
Well, we do have an Aussie in there, Macau. He's got some serious pace. You should know Macau. You guys probably played together as kids, just around the corner in the street. You know, as we all know. So,
if I recall correctly, he is a Division 1 driver in AM. So
you're going to see some serious pace, I guess, there from the Macau. He does have a lot of pace there, as with some of the other drivers. Jim Bob has got all his telemetry up, no doubt. Jim Bob Jeff. Jim Bob has to run around not only to commentate, but he's also getting all this information and secretly relaying this down to all the teams. Going, all right, he's got all the telemetry up for his for the other teams. Are you secretly feeding this information off to the other drivers? So going, he's only got 54% worn tires. He has X amount of ERS left. He has this. He has that. Is that what you do?
Oh, they wish. They wish I was doing that for them. I'm just covering myself in absolute full information, so I can even know that Henner is only got 4.3 kilograms of fuel. So there you go. This is the team telemetry overlay that I'm using, which is working okay. So that's good to see that information.
That's being relayed all the way down to the other drivers in the pit lane. They had their own personal Jeffs.
They're hacking my system, my virtual PC, but it's looking like he's running extremely low on fuel, so he's going for a quick and sweet lap. I'm just checking everything that I have. We'll just have a see further up the field with Red Hornet, who apparently is running with no fuel. A little bit of a technical glitch there, I'm guessing, on my system.
Come on, Jim Bob, hacking the system properly as Hennes is navigating through Beggart's, Mackett's and Chapel. That's the one that's like a roller coaster ride. Now he's going to go down the hanger straight with the DRS open as you were allowed to during the qualifying. Let's see what he can do. He's going to be essentially the second man across the line, but I think he might be the fastest man across the line, as he sets the fastest second sector, as to be expected. I'd like to see Hennes on the podium. He's been chasing this for a long time. This could be the time to do it. This is his home track. He's from the United Kingdom. He's got the... Oh, he's invalidated the lap, unfortunately. Sorry, Hennes. We give you the commentator curse.
Just a little bit, but he's running extremely low on fuel, so that means he's not going to manage it. But we have our first position with a 126, and that is Max Penner.
BTFU just ran a little bit too much wide, and he probably slipped on the poop of Your Majesty Queen Elizabeth's corgi dogs as she was walking the track earlier. And of course, dogs have to do what dogs have to do. They laid a little bit of poop there, and I think that's what BTFU happened to slip on. So, but plenty of time, 13 minutes. What do you think about this, Shiv? What sort of times do you expect these guys to set that would at least impress you from down under, so perhaps even make you frothing at the mouth for a shoey?
I'd like to see everyone at least closer to the 126 flats to have a good race, but yeah, so we'll see later on this session. People start getting it into the 125s. We should have a good race. I'm on board now, watching Hammer put his lap in.
Let's go on board the Hammer time. Let's see if we can hook it up at the moment. He's on his out lap. What's the trickiest part of this track that you guys find around Silverstone to try to navigate right, as we saw before with Hennis just not quite hooking up that last Stowe corner, I believe. And there's also an invalidation, I believe, from the hammer time. So no hammer out for him just yet.
I mean, it really comes down with like Maggots and Beckett's and Rare really trying to push those track limits to save as much time as possible without invalidating. It's not the most particularly tricky section, but yeah, if you want to save 2-3 tenths, you really got to risk invalidating your lap on those apexes.
Thank you very much, too, for
Hammer
stepping in.
locked up the first corner.
Yeah, sorry, cut you off there. Thank you very much there, Shiv and Jim Bob, all stepping in absolute last minute to do this. This is what we do. We support our other fellow league racing, and this is PPR Esports. And this is a good thing about like having good friends like yourselves. So you can go, hey guys, you want to come in and commentate? You're like, what, when, what, how, how much time? And you guys managed to step into the booth and fly in very quickly too to Silverstone. So congratulations to the airlines for hooking that up. But go ahead there.
Yeah, I just
Jim
had to
Bob.
take a quick flight down south. As we have a racer who's managed to go into first position with a 1:25.5. So it looks like Max Benner is in the pits, probably checking that's the setup, going, damn it, this is not enough. What can I do? Talking to the race engineers. We'll just move now to
Talking to you.
or watching my screens secretly, as we have Becky B, who I believe is currently going for purple sector on in sector 1.
Yep, let's go on board, Becky V. I saw that. I caught that as well. The purples look good, right? Let's see if we can keep more purples or at least greens, no reds. That's what Becky B does not want.
Keeping a little bit close.
Oh, he's invalidated.
I believe that was an invalidation right there. Just a little bit too close on. I believe that was Mecca and Beckett's.
At the end of Beckett's, it looked like he hooked it up to try to get a good exit out of Chapel, but he didn't. Just a little bit too much there. So, a lot of reds on the timing boards at the moment. These drivers just, I guess, you can do it, isn't it? This is the point where you have to do it with 10 minutes into qualifying. Just push as absolutely maximum as you can and invalidate a lap if you have to. But at least they are pushing. We've seen a lot of very good pushing times. But now it's going to come down to the business and the qualifying where you cannot afford to make mistakes anymore. Welcome everybody there. Spring Tedley, is that Spring Tedley? Finished. And Grewal, I'm going to give it your surname there. I can't pronounce that. PPR. Ryan, welcome. And Alex, welcome. Does anyone here think Mr. Ricardo will get a podium again this season? Of course he will. Shiv, what do you think?
Oh, as a betting man, I hope so. His odds were looking pretty good throughout the most of the races. But yeah, I think for the rest of the season, though, we'll see that the Renault is actually quite strong.
And he's Australian, mate, so he has at least half a second in the bag.
We'll see. But yeah, I mean, it is unfortunate to watch him at the end of the season start pulling out really strong, knowing that he's going into that McLaren next year that's doing an engine swap when development is limited. But yeah, we'll see if that pays off for him.
Well, he must be very patriotic as well, because if you guys do know your history, the closest team you could possibly get to Australia would be McLaren, because obviously it was formed by Mr. Bruce McLaren, who was a New Zealander. So
in a shed.
In his shed, exactly. Exactly. So even though it's run out of the United Kingdom now, we still know the history. No Tyrrell, unfortunately, on the grid representing Australia. What other team? There, Shiv, how's your history? What other team was from Australia?
You've asked me this before and I still can't remember. Hammer's invalidated his lap again.
Did Henner's invalidate his lap? I thought Henner's is... Oh, yes, he did. I'm not sure if I could see that. Yes. No, he didn't. Henner's didn't. He set the fastest lap, 125.
Hammer did.
Oh, yeah. Hammer. Yeah, Hammer's and Henner's.
Lap.
Good job for Henner's. I think this could be his race. Finally. I like to see drivers that commit day in and day out, and they always finish in P5, P6, P7, whatever. They're down the grid. But at one point, they realize, and they must know, their day is going to come. And this could be his day. Remember, it's his home track, so he can hear the crowd every single time he goes around club cheering for him, because this is his home track, and it should give him a little bit of advantage, shouldn't it?
And you're on a lap now. 1 second off the pole time.
I'm just keeping an eye on the track. Where of some of these drivers?
Yellow flag and maggots and Beckett as he goes through. It's cleared.
Who's this driver we're following? Sorry?
Throwing on with Pena.
Pena. Okay, let's go to Pena.
Yeah. Max Pena?
Max Pena, that's right, correct. Call it out for me, guys. I don't want to miss the action that you're commentating on. Yeah, he's not. He's setting only whites, but I don't see he's improving too much of his time. I think further back the grid there.
I'm just watching his tire wear as he's going through, because it did seem like he's fairly burning the front left tire fairly hot. Running on 4 kilograms of fuel left, so
stays in P4 at the moment, I think. Mikhail's still not to set a lap time yet, and we know Mikhail's got some serious pace. I think he's just sitting back going, haha, is that all you got? 125 flat? We shall see about that, Mr. Hanners. Mikhail is that kind of driver that could do that. But still, 6 minutes to go.
Becky B.
And Becky B as well. Yeah, you're right. So, it's exotic, and it is exotic. I confirmed with the driver before. I used to say, is the Exile? It's not. It's exotic, as he exotically slotted that Red Bull up into P3. Good job. But
this
we're still.
Might be a case of some of the drivers just staying in the pits due to the low amount on the field. If you know that you're fast and you've done a lot of practice and you're just looking at the times going, I can beat that, then maybe it is a good idea to save that tire wear if you're in the top 10 and just hang back. So Becky B staying in the pits, not been out on a lap currently, so that might be his plan.
He's probably talking to you right now there, Jim Bob Jeff, deciding how much of the tire wear he's going to get as Jim Bob Jeff picks his drivers apart, going, yes, he is. He's a little bit temperature on the outside wall of his tires, about 120 degrees. His inside wall is about 105. His wing, his telemetry, you got all the information there, don't you?
Yeah, because it's looking like Kermit from his last lap is 3% on his tire wear. He did a 126.6, and his top speed was 329 kilometers an hour.
And what did he have for breakfast this morning? That's what I'm curious about. If you have all the information, isn't it good to have Jim Bob Jeff up there giving us all the telemetry information as well as Shiv giving us all the driver information? So we got a bit of a mix, don't we? I'm just a commentator / aka pit lane guy that all the drivers try to run me over in the pit lane. They won't be doing that today. I'm aware of this. Whether I'll be driving the safety cars or something, or whether I'll be driving the medical car as well, which I don't like to drive too much.
You're not planning to get back in the car again this year, Biggles?
I've hung up my racing boots a long time ago, sir. I've been doing this for many, many, many months now. Only about 3 months, I think, since the COVID lockdown, as you're also aware of, being locked down there in Melbourne. We have to.
You had a fantastic finish in the last Melbourne race.
I did. I finished right. First at the finish. Well, just out of the points, but
I think. Do you remember who won that race? I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. No. Oh, that's right. It was me.
Oh, okay. Who can remember who won? That's right. It was I remember now. It was an Aussie P1 and an Aussie last. So we surrounded everybody else. You did win that race. Good job. That's right. I was waiting for the shoe in the podium. You didn't deliver it, so I was a little upset with that one. Come on, Cody. Put that in
Even
the game.
Ricardo forgot to do a shoe.
No, he did. He did it. He did it after.
All right. He gets paid a lot more than I do.
Well, maybe if you just drive a little bit faster, you might be able to sort that situation out. You can talk to your bosses about getting a few more zeros added to your paycheck.
I'm just waiting on the call.
Well, who can be waiting the call right now to tackle it to Hennes? Because Hennes at the moment is 2/10 quicker than everybody else. But 3 minutes. Now we're down to the business end of qualifying in Silverstone. The Queen is there. Wave to the Queen. Your Majesty, Queen Elizabeth, the longest running monarch in the English Empire. She's very happy. She's got all her dogs there. She's got all her family. Who's going to be the one? Can Hennes be the one to impress? Be the first man to, well, actually not, since Lewis Hamilton to cross the line and get provisional pole in the United Kingdom. Providing he
Just
doesn't
adding
slip
a-
up on some of that poop. Go ahead.
Just adding a secret driver that may or may not have just ran into the pits and stolen one of the Racing Point cars. And
Is that simply air?
Simply. It is.
Ooh.
We got both racing points coming out of the pit at the same time. Looking to give a tow.
Yep. He might be.
So this is going to be the interesting part to see: is he using wheel or is he
Oh, no,
using keyboard?
that
And
looks
it's
like
looking
keyboard.
it's on wheel.
Oh, is it wheel? No, it's keyboard.
Oh wait, no, yeah, it's definitely key. I was looking at the throttle control, but no, looking at the steering wheel, it's looking like it's on keyboard.
What do you think, guys, on YouTube? What do you think? It looks like a keyboard. If you get, and I know for a fact it's almost impossible to drive this track very smoothly on a keyboard. And you can see the way he's jerking that. Yeah, that's
I
definitely.
would not put it past.
Yeah,
I wouldn't put it past simply though. Let's see where he places.
he's lifting off too. He must be listening to us. Yeah, no, that's definitely not. You could not drive like that if you're on a wheel or a controller. And if you do, you're as bad as me. And that's bad, by the way. Definitely bad.
Looks like he's running a little bit heavy on fuel, maybe, compared to the other racers.
So Macau's not set a time. Interesting. So the Australian driver in P12 has just said, you know what? Bye-bye. Do these guys know something we don't know? Is this going to be rain for tomorrow then? Or Macau's just saying, you know what? I'm going to have fun on this race. I think he's leading the championship anyway. Turn on telemetry. I will not do that. Sorry there, Grewal. I don't like to turn on telemetry to give information away to the other drivers because they tend to read that information and relay it there. I'll just show you the track map. Jim Bob will give you all that information if you ask him politely. Hashtag Jim Bob Jeff's telemetry is available for you anytime you want. 24 hours a day.
Just looking at the weather, currently everything seems fine. So, I don't know what they're expecting, to be quite honest.
It's interesting, isn't it? A lot of invalidation of laps as we're expecting. Hammer time invalidating. Also, exotic invalidating. Mexican Penna as invalidating. I think it's like Mex. So obviously Mex is going to be short for Mexico. I never asked the driver. Strip him up in a P6. Let's see if we can improve on his time. Who else is there? Oh, that's exotic. Just going exotically into the grass. Slipping on the Queen's Corgi's poop again. These drivers are catching out there. The Queen needs to pick up after curb your dogs, Your Majesty. Curb your dogs. And that's it for exotic. He's going to retire that Red Bull. There's no chance to get anything else done. Back down to P13. That's Dragon Ball, but he's unfortunately invalidated his lap, so he's not going to improve. Can anybody else improve, guys? What do you think?
Yeah, all in line with the 126.2. We got this field split here, 50-50 between 126s and 125s.
Dragon Ball got set. I thought he was invalidated. It was showing red, but the Dragon Bone. And that's a racing point. 126.8. 2/10 quicker than poor Hennes. Come on, Hennes. I thought you had it in the bag. And the Dragon said, you know what? I have fire. And what can the Hennes do to trump that fire? He didn't have anything in the bag. Racers can bring a slot into P3.
No,
Hammer
so
time.
We're looking at hammer time. He's 1 second off the mark, it's looking like, so it's not going to be too much of a difference, if any at all, in this lap. So unless you can somehow magically find 1 second.
Well, it's definitely hammer time, isn't it? He needs to hammer it down, but he can't. He gets P2, but good recovery.
Yeah, really, really good for the last few laps.
So that'll be it, I think, for the qualifying by far. So sledding Hannah's down to P3, already retired from the session. Didn't think he can get any more pace than that. And look at that, Becky B, BTFU, and Macau yet to set a time, and we'll have to start at the back of the grid. How's that going to feel for these drivers? Around 50% of the Queen watching as well. That must be a bit of pressure. Who was to read through that list there?
I'll just run very quickly. So we have Dragonborn, who has just managed to slot up into first position using the soft tires. We have Hammer Time, who managed to pull out a second position in mediums, I should say. We have Henner in third position, Racer in fourth position, Exotic in fifth, Max Penner sixth, Kermit seventh, Stryfium eighth, Red Hornet ninth, Simply Air 10th, Becky B 11th.
I have to pop downstairs and grab something real quick, guys. My apologies. Hopefully under the formation lap, I'll be able to get back. So go ahead.
So, Shiv, what are we expecting from this race currently as we begin the...
Only 2 tenths separating the top 4, but one of the runners on mediums, and that's incredible considering the time difference on everyone else running on soft. So, I mean, if he can stay out of trouble, and it'll be pretty close racing on those times, he can just go longer and stay out of trouble, and I can see that coming out a really strong strategy. But we'll have to see. Macau didn't set a lap. I know he's fast, so if he can get up through the field in one pace.
Similar with Becky B not setting a time as well. So it seems like a few of these drivers are saving their tires. Once again, I think Hammer Time managing to get as close as he did on mediums is going to really, really spice this race up, I feel.
Well, I'd say it's like you can start on a medium tire, but get any wing damage or anything in the first couple of corners, and then you're stuck left on a tire compound. What are your choices? Switching to a soft or a hard? Gets tricky.
It's very true. So we're just going to go for the outlap. Currently, we have Dragon Ball in first position. So looks like the weather's changed a little bit, so I'll just get a quick update on that for you. So it's looking like the current track temperature is 30 degrees, so a little bit hotter than it was in qualifying, but it's looking like there's not going to be any rain for the foreseeable future in the race. I'll update as we go along.
Only 3 out of the 13 drivers starting on the mediums. Let me see Macau in the back starting on them. BTFU also starting on them. But Hammer Time starting in second place on the mediums, I think, has put him in a very strong position. I think we'll both see Macau and BTFU come up to the front. But yeah, if Hammer Time stays out of trouble, that's going to be a very strong stint.
As we just hear Biggles shutting the door, so that means he's got his package and he's quickly running back.
All right, I'm back. Thank you. Sorry about that. My apologies. At least we got in the warm-up lap. So, what do you guys think about Dragonbone there? Hammer Time, Hannah's going to be Mercedes. They'll have to cover each other, I guess, off the start, wouldn't they? At least, how's that weather looking? A little cloudy. Typical Silverstone.
Yeah, checked on the weather before. It's looking like there's not going to be any rain for this foreseeable race. And the track temperature, surprisingly enough, is warmer than the qualifying. So only 5 degrees different. Well, makes all the
British
difference.
weather.
Yeah.
Yep, can't make his mind up.
Well, Hammer Time's going to be in a big trouble, isn't he, on those mediums? Because he's got to get a lot of temperature in them. He's got everybody on softs around him, all the way back down to BTF in Macau. They did not set a qualifying time, so let's see how Hammer Time can handle that race start. Go ahead, guys. Who wants to do the introduction for this one?
Well, we have full lights, and we are underway with this PPR PC race. So we have already changes in second place with Header managing to steal that away. We have in 7th place also moving. We have Chiffron moving up and down. We have all the races changing different positions as they go through these extremely tight corners. Racer up into 5th position, who just manages to now overtake Exotic. Chiffron moving a little bit further up and having a couple of battles there, going through these extremely tight corners still. Nobody really managing to challenge Dragonbone in 1st position. He's just managing to get a decent gap from Henner in 2nd. A similar.
Cows already jumped to ninth.
Oh, and that's Stryfium off into the wall. I just caught it at the end of the day. Oh, wow. Oh, poor Stryfium. It was such a great race. Just even catch that on a replay real quick. If I can do that. I think I have the replay hooked up there. If I do, hopefully.
So that's
or not.
That's 100% damage on his front wing. So he's definitely gonna have to return to the pits or maybe retire as we go with.
No, I don't. All right.
As we go with Simply Air moving up into 11th position. I think just at the last minute managed to get there. We have Henner picking up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So the question is, what there's...
Yeah, he's boxing at the moment. Why is he boxing so quickly?
Wing damage?
It may be a case of some damage. I will
no wing damage. He's back out again. What's he switching on? Is that Inters?
They're taking
oh no, it's hards. That's hards. That's hards. Yep.
Yeah,
safety car. That's why.
Deciding to go for the hards. He's going all the way to the end of the race. It's looking like so. They both, Henner and Hammer, are both going for the same setup of using hards. We also still have in the pits Stryfium, who's getting repaired. So
even I feel that's a bit aggressive. You start on the mediums to box on the first lap hards, but we'll have to see. That puts them all the way down the pack, as everybody else chooses to stay out.
But they do have those pit stops out of the way with both of the Mercedes drivers running in plump last, but still they're the first ones apart from our leader Stryfium. Well, actually that's not correct at the moment. That's the telemetry being all crazy. So I would say it's Stryfium. Henners and Hammer Time have all boxed up. Stryfium had that big spin out of the collision out of the wall. Still on the race spot. So thank God for not simulation damage, right? It's only on full damage and drivers can still survive. This one. How about that launch there from Dragonbow? Yeah. As I expected as well, too, I think Hamilton lost a couple of positions off that, trying to get those mediums. Remember, he started in P2 or P3, I believe, and lost a lot of positions from the start, trying to get the temperature in that as he's getting eaten up by the soft runners.
I'm just going to run through as much data as I can.
Go through the position changes at the moment. Everybody's gained essentially positions there. Razor's gained 2, Exotic's gained 2, Max Penner's gained 2, Becky B 6 positions, Macau 7 positions. Remember, both of those drivers did not qualify at all, so they started from the back of the field and already gained a ton of positions. Red Hornet gained 2, Kermit lost 1, Simply As gained 1, and Hammer Times lost 9 positions, as well as Stryfium's losing 3 and Henner's losing 7, unfortunately, after a great qualifying position.
As we have Hammer Time going back into the pits. So going on to the mediums, I think that may have been a little team error there. Accidentally putting him onto the hards, so he's now gone back into the pits and on mediums.
I've lost a track map in my telemetry there. Have you got the track map still there, Jim Bob, or not? Mine's gone. Mine's frozen.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of the track map going. I'm using the overlay for it. So
Jim Bob has all the tools. Just can give us that one. I don't have that. I do have the timing screens at least, but they're all bunched up. A couple more drivers trying to catch the back of the pack. Will they be able to catch it in time? That'll be the question, won't it?
I get the feeling they will. They seem to be on the not too far away, to be quite honest. So I definitely feel that Kermit and Hammer Time are definitely going to be able to catch up to the pack.
Let's look out for Macau, obviously. He's going to be able to run a lot further in this race. Gap to leader at the moment, it's not displaying, unfortunately. There it is, 2.5 seconds, obviously, as they're bunched up in the safety car. Keep an eye out for Macau. And Becky B.
I'm just checking this. Quite interesting that Henner stayed out on the hards, whereas Hammer Time has gone into the pits and he has come out with the mediums. So that might have been a little bit of team talking, just saying, no, I'm faster on the mediums and I'm doing better on the hards. So might be a little bit of team talking going on and getting the pit crew to change strategies.
Did he box for hards to switch compound and then switch back to the mediums in the next lap. So
He
now his
did.
pit stop's done and he's on the tire compound he wants to be on.
Yeah, maybe
But
he
then
had
he's
some
like-
damage or a penalty to serve there because you wouldn't box on hards on one lap, would you? But
Well, I said you had to change your compound, so that technically counts as his compound change, and now he's starting in the same position he would have been, but now he's on the mediums. He doesn't need to box.
That is
But he
very
boxed,
true.
two
That may have been
times.
the time.
that's hammer time. Remember, he
He boxed
boxed
for
twice.
hards. He started mediums.
Yeah, but you
remember?
got- you
so
have
he had
to
to
change-
switch to hards.
Yeah, he had to
medium.
switch to a different compound, otherwise that wouldn't.
Oh, he's done.
That
He's
is
on
a
the compound
very
he wants.
smart move.
Let's see how Simply Air and Red Hornet getting side by side as racing is underway. That means Simply Air is getting sliding past the Red Hornet. Both of those guys are on
Yeah, they're
those soft
free position.
tires. Also, Becky B making a pass there on Max Penner, and that is sliding up the Becky B into P4. So good restarts from a lot of these drivers. Dragon still retaining the lead of the race, just pulling out a gap now over Racer. Exotic still keeping within DRS range, slotting in a P3. Becky B's now all over the back of Exotic of the Red Bull. And get coming out of Chapel into the hangar straight. That's going to be the crucial part. There's no DRS enabled just yet, but there's going to be super slipstream for Becky B, and that's a Williams passing a Red Bull. You don't hear that every day, but he should be able to make that stick, shouldn't he, as they go into Stowe? No, he's going to have to lift. I know he will. Becky B will get it.
He did the exit he wanted, and just Becky B took it.
As we have BTFU battling out with Simply Air pushing a little bit too much, having to go a little bit wide as BTFU kind of moved him off the track. You have Dragon Ball doing a 127.9. Red Hornet having a little bit of a slip, so that's allowed Henner to fly past. This is soft v hards. So I'm just going to jump on board with Henner and just keep an eye on him as he's now hunting down BTFU and Simply Air as they battle for that 7th position.
He's got to get on with it, doesn't he?
Yeah,
'Cause
lucky BTFU could get tussled up here with Simply Air and look for a double overtake.
he's got to look at that Red Hornet in his rear view mirrors as well. And the Red Hornet also has to look at Kermit. It looks like BTFU's going to make that pass on Simply Air. Does he make it stick? It looks like he does. That's going to be interesting as well. That's mediums versus softs. You'd think the softs would be a little bit more grippy at this point. They haven't fallen off the cliff.
The softs are running at 20% wear, as well as Max Penner is also running at 25% wear, so he's not really managing his tyres as well. So I think that may be the problem for Simply Air, that the tyre wear difference, as you now have...
Oh, and this hand is tapping into Simply Air. I think that Simply Air's exits cost Hannah's, as we're on board with that. Unfortunately, I can't show you the replay. I thought I had the replays working, but I think it just completely caught Hannah's off guard. And that means Hannah's just
Simply Air
tapped
got
him.
caught up in Maggots and Beckett's, got stuck to the inside of the corner. Henner's tried to go around the outside, but got caught up turning into the apex and got his wheel and wing tangled up.
And so he's
You now have
unfortunate.
DRS enabled.
Yep, now DRS is going to be enabled. Let's have a look at Mikkel at the moment, running in P5, all over the back of the Red Bull. We know Mikkel has the pace. Remember, starting from the back of the field, I think he's just kind of biding his time at the moment. He has the mediums. He has the best strategy, let's say, on track at the moment on lap 6. So as these front runners' tyres are going to start going off, DRS is enabled for both Exotic and Mikkel, but Mikkel looks like this is going to be all too easy for the Australian driver. Shiv, you should be very happy with that. Is your fellow countryman moving up into P4?
So Macau now has the better track position. He's on the mediums. I said what we have here though is again Hammer has switched his compound. He doesn't have the box. Macau will have the box for those mediums. So in the longer terms of it, Hammer and Macau will probably fight on their tire strategy. We'll have to see where Dragonbone comes out if he boxes for mediums and how quick he is on the pace.
See, when Hammer Time are battling right now with Red Hornet side by side. And they've also got Simply Air in the back of them as well. Simply Air made that little error and he's like battling where he's not supposed to be in P10. But certainly there's a bit of a train forming right behind Red Hornet. Let's see if Hammer Time can do the Hammer Time and get around him on the outside. It's going to be interesting, is it? The grip between the mediums and the softs.
It's looking like it is. It may be a case of just that little bit of wear as well that's coming into play. But
Hammer Time with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I think Hammer Time knows he's got the pace, so he's just trying to hot lap. Everybody else in front of him are just backmarkers at this point. He's just running through everybody, hunting everybody down to get into that at least top 5 position.
It's very important, isn't it, for these soft runners right now to try to get as much distance as they can from those mediums, because we know those mediums will last a couple more laps, and Red Hornet is tucked up, shall we say, behind Hammer Time, which is also affecting Simply Air and Kermit, that are all bunching in behind the Mercedes driver. So they want to get past, because it's losing them crucial time. It looks like Kermit's going to get past Simply Air. Both of them on those soft tyres. Well, Kermit has fresher tyres. 3 laps on those softs must feel like an absolute...
Macau gets a good exit on Racer out of Mackett's and Beckett's.
Oh, Macau's now going to be very, very close to getting past Racer 33. And is that the Aussie driver up into P3? Yes, it is. Job done. Macau showing that those medium tyres are just working absolute perfection. And Becky B now is going to be super close to our race leader of Dragon, who's unfortunately not got a lot of airtime, but Becky B says, you know what? We need some sponsorship advertising. And is that the Aussie driver up into P3? Yes, it is. It's challenge done. Macau showing Williams versus the Racing Point. You don't hear that absolute perfection.
Especially for first and second position, but you can
and Becky B now is going to be super close to our race leader of Dragon, who's unfortunately not got a lot of airtime, but Becky B says, you know what?
So these drivers that did not qualify have clearly known something, that had the confidence to know that they're fast enough, as you can see by the extremely nice overtake by Becky B to move him up into P1. So Dragonborn losing just 1 position, but it's an important one.
Yeah, Shiv, right now, as you're a driver, what are you going to try to make that move? Obviously not in the cops. You're not going to be able to do it in Maggots and Baggots, but this is all about getting as close as you can, choosing the right apex, spotting every single point, following this racing line that may or may not exist, depending on the drivers, and then getting on the hanger straight, and the DRS will be enabled for Dragon.
I think Dragon is, given the fact that Becky B's come up so quickly, that you really just need to hang on, use that DRS and build more time. For him, as I said, his race against Hammer Time and everyone else that is already pitted, like, for him, he just needs to make sure that pace and gets as much out of those tires. Minimize fighting, because Macau is coming up at 3/10 a lap right now, so that's going to be a new problem for him as well.
And further back, it looks like BTFU and the McLaren drivers getting past the Mexican banner. These two guys are battling it out once again. This battle between the mediums and softs. It doesn't look like Hennes is retired from the session. Oh no, safety car. So Hennes, well, I hope there's no medical car to be deployed, but damn, Hennes, after putting such a qualifying effort in, has retired from the session and thus brought out the safety car. Ouch. Is this going to be a pit stop now? A free pit stop for our race leaders?
Are you crazy not to do it? But this, unfortunately for Hammer Time, it works against his strategy. Does he stay out, or does he put another set on? He probably doesn't have another set of mediums, actually, so he has to stay out. So this will give him decent track position.
It's definitely going to affect Mr.
Macau. Definitely going in.
Yeah, Macau as well. Because he wanted to.
Macau was going into the pits, but I think he went into the wrong pit stop area. Then he slowed down extremely, and then realised that there was a barrier in the way. So that's going to cost him some time now.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? So Becky B's got that just a little bit of a lead over Dragonbo. Macau's got a 4-second behind Dragon. So
the real question is, what does Macau do? Macau's started on the medium.
Exactly. So this is losing. The safety car has not caused him a great deal because he wanted to go a little bit longer on those mediums. Oh, big lock up there from Dragon just to avoid Becky B. Becky B was very cautious going in there, making sure he hitting that marker and not getting a penalty. And Dragonbone had to avoid hitting the back of the Williams driver as he's sliding into the pits. Look at this: top 6, top 7, top 8, top 9. Is everybody going to box? That's going to be interesting. Yes, 10 in the
11.
box.
Yep,
11. Come on, Striffim, jump in the box and just make it a whole pit box battle.
Hammer has to accept where he is now. He puts softs on. That's aggressive.
Macau's gone hards too. Interesting. So he's the only
my
guy
God,
that's on
that-
hards.
Macau and Hammer have gone for completely opposite strategies to the situation. Macau's hards will make it to the end. They will be slower. Hammers, I don't know if they'll make it. That's
I'll just
So-
keep an eye out. I'll just take a check at the temperature
And,
side.
and poor Stryfium
looking
that
like
stayed
that-
out the whole time as well, but he's so far back he didn't get the advantage of jumping everybody in the pit lanes. But, however, he's going to be able to join the back of the field, which is going to be Kermit and the Renault just ahead of him. But now we're going to see a big strategy difference there. I want to see what Hammer Time's going to do. Can he make those softs go to the end? Lap 10 of 26? Hammer Time. And he's also visited Mr. Jim Bob Jeff, per se. He's visited the box now 3 times. And all the other drivers ahead and behind him have only visited the box once, barring Kermit, Stryfium, and Hennes.
I think if I am able to, I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on Hammer Time's tire wear. Some of these drivers I do get the tire wear, and some of them I do not. I think that would be due to the sharing of information.
Well,
Some
due
of them
to
are a
your
little bit
lack of
shy.
hacking skills there, Mr. Jimbo. Come on. That's why they
Or-
pay you
or
the
that.
big dollars for.
I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that because this being the only driver to go to softs and to pull 16 laps out of it, maybe he's expecting another safety car.
I'm not sure.
I mean,
Hennes,
it's-
shout out there on YouTube. It was what happened. I just see Hennes just like getting a little of a emote there, and Grewell said bye bye Hammer Softs. Oof, we'll see. Yeah, let us know what happened there, Hennes. Doing such a great race. Must have been a little mistake. Did you get tapped? What happened? Did you slip on the Queen's Corgi's poop that is out there, I believe, around Stowe? She was out walking around Stowe before.
It may have been a case of the little bit of a battle with Simply Air that may have done some wing damage that might have set the catalyst for him not to have enough grip going through some of these corners.
stands because it's taken him out of the race and really compromised Hammer's strategy. So that's a twofer for that incident.
Yeah. These
We'll have
drivers
to
are
see
trying
if
to get their
Dragonbone
tires.
can actually fight with Macau now that he's on the hards, or if Macau's still got the pace on those just to get past him.
We shall see, shouldn't we? And anyway, this is the crucial point right now that we've seen in a lot of league racing. These drivers have to try to keep themselves a little bit of a distance. Sometimes you get a little bit of a lag glitch, and if you're so close to another car, under these safety car conditions, and you just like a little bit of a brake check, a little bit of swerving, there's a lag glitch, and bang, all of a sudden you lost your front wing, and all of a sudden you've been issued a penalty too from the FIA. So far so good. These drivers are trying to keep it clean and allowing enough respect for each other, as they're definitely going to be going what looks to be, well, I think the safety car will be in this lap for
It's
sure.
looking like that Macau has definitely warmed his tires up a lot more than Dragon and Becky got the temp.
Well, somebody has just relayed. We know somebody that has some serious pace. Thank you very much for joining us, somebody. He said soft should be good to the entire thing. I'm selling Hammer on soft pace. Good call on that one. Well, there you go. So Hammer's got some Hammer fans. Hannah said, well, someone not even in the PPR Discord took me out. That's unfortunate about that. I'm sure that will be relayed into the Discord channel later on. Sorry about that, Hannah. You know I'm one of your fans. I'd like to see that after your great qualifying performance as well. But I know, and I'm not going to retire from my commentating career unless you get a podium position. So keep going, mate. But don't leave it too long. You know, I'm getting older.
Feels like deja vu when you were saying that.
Well, I have faith. I have faith in the drivers that commit a lot of time. Anyway, let's see if Becky B can have faith in leading this race and see what Hammond Time can do on those softs. As we're underway again, full speed, and that's what we like to see these drivers do. Absolutely flat out. Who's got a great restart? It looks like Dragon's taken an even better great restart than Becky B.
But Macau is not too far behind, just watching these two battle away. Maybe waiting for an opening to be able to get a double overtake. Might be waiting even for the DRS to be re-enabled. Just sticking with these two. As it seems like Dragon Ball locking up a little bit there. That's not going to be good for his tires. And unfortunately, on my end, I have not
think
been able to
Hammer
hack into the
Time's-
system of Hammer Time, so I can't
think
get his tire wear.
Hammer Time's P7 and go very, very, very close to the Mexican Penner. And looked like he was almost going to get that job done, but had to lift a little bit as Dragon's very, very close as well. I'm not quite sure the battle to follow. I think this might be the battle there between P6 and P7. And it looks like Hammer Time, only a matter of time that Hammers should be able to get past Mexican Penner on those tires. They're fresh softs, you know. Oh, bit of a slide there from Hammer Time. He's had to lift off. What's happened there? Because of the battle up ahead.
It seemed like a little bit of a DC right there. But he's managed to slip right in, but it's coming a little bit tight as he goes for the inside, manages to just do a little bit of a tap, it looked like, onto Exotic, or it
And
was...
Mexican Penner's off somewhere. That's the Red Eye driver.
Penner. There was a little bit of a DC there, and Hammer Time just tapping Max Penner. And I think that may have just sent him off track, but I don't think that's going to be an FIA, really, because it did seem like a very much of a DC on my end.
It's a DT, all right. So Hammer Time's actually retired from the session there. So Red Hornets now putting big pressure on Exotic. BTFU's all in the battle there as well. Look at this. P6, P7, P8, P9. Nothing between these two guys. We're going to have to take away from the race leaders at the moment because this is the closest battle we can see on track on lap 13 and 26.
As Macau is just struggling, really.
Disconnected in the corner
Yeah.
just before the contact and managed to reconnect 2 corners later, so he's back in the seat.
Is that Macau? Yep. You got to watch out. You would know this there, Shiv. These dingoes chewing on your cable, your internet cables. You got to shoo them away, mate. Don't let those dingoes do that. At least Macau's back in his race seat. See what Exotic can do as they're going to go through.
I'm losing even more information because I don't even have intervals or the gap to the leader, so this is getting interesting.
Still that battle between P6, P7, P8. I can tell you that right now as the time should start coming down the screen as DRS is now enabled. So, big battle. They're all slotted up behind Hammer Time. And that's surprising, isn't it? Because Hammer Time is the one with the freshest and the grippiest tires on the track. But Exotic's still bringing it as close as he possibly can. Still within DRS. That's the Red Bull driver running a P6, but now losing a bit of time. Falling into the clutches of the Hornet. The BTFU and Simply Air.
You're now seeing the struggle of Macau to keep up with Dragonborn and Becky B, with DRS now being enabled, not being able to get into that DRS zone. These two front runners are going to be running away.
Dragon Ball is getting very, very Dragon Bone. I keep saying Dragon Ball. My apologies. He's getting super close now to Becky B. We're going to go aboard this action. That's the racing point. He's been following Becky B for after the restart, and now he's within half the second. What can he do? The DRS is slotted open. That's that little letterbox. You would know that. You all have letterboxes in the United Kingdom. The Queen has a letterbox. Becky B does not have a letterbox, unfortunately, for the Williams team, but Dragonbone does. And that's a battle, remember, too. This is a battle for up the front there, P1 and P2.
But do bear in mind that Dragonborn had picked up a 3-second penalty. I don't know what the penalties are looking like for Becky B, but...
Oh, BTFU is off somewhere. Oh, he's boxing. Sorry, my bad. Making something a little bit more exciting. BTFU's had to box for some reason. Anyway, we're going to follow this action up ahead. Still with the Dragons, losing a little bit of time right now. I'm surprised that Hammer Time, speaking of time, is not doing it as good as what he should be. He's on the back of Racer. He has the fresher tyres, well, the grippier tyres, shall we say. They're both 4 laps. But not be able to make the same gain that Dragon is doing on our race leader. But we're going to have to probably slot down to Hammer Time because it looks like he's gaining a little bit now. Almost half a second to Racer 33. And Racer 33 make a little bit of error. That's the one place you do not want to make an error. And that's going to be something for Hammer Time to pounce down on. And that's going to look easy as they're going to go cruising around Stowe. Sorry, Cops. Flat out to lifting, and the grip is going to be a big play. They're going to be too wide through Magus and Baggots. That's not going to happen. Racers had to lift. That means Hammer Time's going to be able to get a great exit out of here. Can he get out of DRS? No, he won't. Racer 33 should be able to come back a little bit of that, but he's going to be too far back, I feel. to do it, the Williams driver will have to slot in behind Hammer Time, and that's job done.
It looks like Kermit has had to retire. Don't know what that was from, but just looking at Hammer locking up a little bit there, carried maybe a little bit too much speed, as we now have a virtual safety car. I think that would be, yeah, we have Max Penner, who is also retired as well. So we have 3 drivers down so far, so BTFU now moving further up. I believe, was it, no, Kermit wasn't one that was too far away, so I don't know what quite happened there. But BTFU has now moved on to the soft, so this is exactly what he's going to need, just to maybe have a little bit of time to catch up to Striffium and get back into this battle.
I think we're green flag racing again. DRS is enabled.
Yeah, it didn't last long enough, it seems. But he has also gone on to the softs.
What do you think there, Striff, from down under? How's it looking upside down?
So Hammer lost a lot of time in his fight with Pena and Zotic, but actually managed to catch up to Racer in pretty decent time and actually get the move done. So from what we've seen so far, at the pace that he's doing, then yeah, I expect him to be up on the back of Macau in at least 5 laps.
I think Macau being, obviously, I don't know if this is just irony, but somehow Macau, being a cow, likes those white, hard tires. And I'm not just saying white because white is the same color as milk, but Macau somehow is just, he's a tire engineer. Jim Bob, you would know this. Jim Bob Jeff. Somehow he's the king of just managing those tires and also putting some blistering pace in there, as Dragon Bone still can't do too much about Becky B. And both of these guys, remember, in P1 and P2 are on the same tire compound and almost setting identical lap times too.
The thing that I am watching of Dragonborn is, which is quite worrying, the bottom left notifications of the time penalties. So I know for a fact that he's now got 6 seconds time penalties. Now, I don't know what it is for the rest of the drivers, but Macau is even gaining and getting losing only a little bit of time, but he's definitely in that 6 seconds of penalties. So it may come down to the penalties of some of these racers.
It always comes down to the penalties, doesn't it? It always does. I've seen it so many times before. Drivers that manage to avoid the naughty corner are the ones that end up gaining a lot of positions. We've seen this before. We can see somebody like, for example, Becky B leading the race, but getting, say, 6 seconds of penalties and all of a sudden dropping out of the points positions. But that's something Becky B doesn't have to worry about right now. He's got 0 penalties. Fastest lap. Oh, there's a back marker that's almost through. Dragonbone, I'm sure his heart is where his mouth is right now, having to avoid that. And still, remember, battling with Becky B. And also knows that Mikhail is very, very pacey behind him. But Mikhail's running about half a second a lap slower, which you would expect on those hard tyres. And that's something that Jim Bob Jeff and Jeff himself would know strategy a little later, because we're only on lap 18 of 26.
Takes 4/10 out of the gap to Macau that last lap alone.
Little battles occurring a little bit further back down there. Striffium, we haven't seen too much of Striffium. He's always like the polite gentleman. He's actually usually broadcasting the races, so he's probably unusually going, hey, I'm racing, I'm not broadcasting. I'll ask Striffium if he can race and broadcast at the same time, but that's a big challenge. I couldn't do that. That takes a lot of concentration, doesn't it, to drive? And he's driving still to get crucial points there for the AlphaTauri and help out his teammate, Mr. Mikhail, that's running in P3. BTFU says the fastest lap.
Yeah, you're top 4 on 3 different compounds going into the last 8 laps of this race.
How's this going to end up? We know that Dragon, unfortunately, has 6 seconds of penalties. Mikhail would know that. Jim Bob knows it. Jeff knows it. Jim Bob Jeff, sorry, knows it. Hammer Time knows that as well. But why isn't Hammer Time gaining on Macau? I would thought that the softs versus the hards should give Hammer Time a lot of advantage. They shouldn't have fallen off the cliff yet, as they're running on very low
Hammer's
fuel.
been catching Macau at 5/10 a lap.
There you go.
For the last 3 laps. So I said the gap was at 3.2 seconds by the time the virtual safety car ended. And he's managed to cut out a 1.2 seconds out of that so far.
And we have to remember too as well, you're not quite aware that Hammer Time has visited the box 3 times. So he's probably sick of seeing his teammates right now. If you want social distancing or you want physical distancing, that's something Hammer wants right now. After visiting the box 3 times, the 3 drivers up ahead, Becky B, Dragon, and Macau, have only visited Jeff in the pits once. So Hammer Time's putting in an absolute blistering performance, considering he's at the box 2 times more than the other drivers.
Staying within DRS of Becky B this whole time has just added to the difficulties of Macau getting within the gap of them to also get that DRS, so it's just leaving him open and vulnerable to Hammer Time on the 2-step softer compound. But as I said, can he maintain this pace for another 6 laps? If so, yeah, I don't see how Macau's going to be able to fend this off.
Dragon's got to get on with it, doesn't he? I mean, at the moment, the Racing Point driver's gaining on Becky B. Becky B somehow has just managed to put that Williams in all the right positions to stop the Racing Point from getting around. And he's kicking up some dirt all over the face mask and the helmet of poor Dragonbone. Has to tear off another strip visor off there. Thank you very much for more dirt on my visor and my helmet. Going to try to crank it now. He's got to get past. He's got 6 seconds of penalties. So if he wants to get a podium position, he's got to get past Becky B and build as much as he possibly can to both Becky B and Macau. Otherwise, he's in big trouble. He's going to slot in behind Hammer Time, who's setting even more blistering pace.
Everyone else so far in the race has found a nice bit of free air front and back, and is just running at their own pace now. So Hammer Time has taken another 4 tenths out of the gap between Macau, and that's 6 laps to go.
Yeah, Jim Bob Jeff is an engineer. What are you going to do? If you're the race engineer of Mr. Hammer Time, and obviously he's been called to put the hammer down, what can you do to get past Macau? Both those drivers have 0 penalties, so if they pass each other on track, that will be that, and I'm sure Hammer Time is thinking about the podium. Macau's probably thinking about definitely P2. Hammer Time's probably even thinking about P2 as well. What would you do as a race engineer? What can Hammer Time do with literally 7 laps to go?
Funny enough, I am looking at all the data from all of these drivers. I'm looking at their tire wear and trying to figure out what tire wear he could be on, and it's looking like Macau, who is on the hards, is at 28% wear. So you're looking at probably even a 40% or near to 40% on them hards, on them softs, sorry. So my idea would be to just get as close as you can to Macau for that DRS zone and just ride that for as many laps as you can before going for the overtake, just to make sure that you've got the speed but you're not wearing down them tires too much. I think he's just gonna have to time his overtake perfectly and hope that Macau gets a little bit closer to Dragonborn and Becky, because I don't have theirs tire wear, but they will probably be between the 35%. So he's really got to watch how much tire wear he's using currently. As much as he can make them last till the end, it's how much grip he has when he goes into these battles.
He's gaining about 3 tenths, just as Shiv had mentioned before. So gaining's good. Although, remember, every single time you gain to push these tyres, you're going to be pushing these softs a lot more. He's almost with a DRS range. Just that 1 second, he can see it right now. Jeff is on the radio going, come on, 1 tenth. Oh, you know how much of the DRS really makes the play. Coming through the important Baker's Maker Chapel, somehow Macau managed to hook it up, and now he's going to fall out of the DRS 1.1, losing a little bit of a time there. So Macau somehow manages to hook up that sweeping S section, and he's very wise in knowing that, and Hammer Time now has to regather himself as they're going to go down into around club to start the lap 22 for these guys. And he's going to try to get as close as he can to the DRS range, because he needs that toe as much as possible before those softs start falling off the cliff.
Another thing that I have noticed of Hammer Time's driving is he is locking up them front tires a lot. And they are the ones that you really, really need on this track, especially that front left. That is the one that is most likely to be much higher in percentage than the rest on the tire wear. So he's, as much as he's pushing to get to that DRS zone, he's pushing way too hard and risking the front left tire.
Jim Bob Jeff has called it, hasn't he? So, engineer, go ahead there, Steve.
Hammer Time's lost about 3 tenths a lap now that he's closed into that gap. He might be hitting that window, and yeah, he's desperately trying to get within that DRS range. He's burning ERS just to get within it. I think he understands that if he doesn't get it in the next lap or two, then there's just no hope of ever catching him or even getting the position if he's loot.
He did a lot better through the S's.
He comes out of Magnussen Beckett.
Yes, he hooked it up, did he? He's got the
DRS.
DRS. That's where he learned, I guess. It took him a couple of laps to learn where the mistakes were. As you're following drivers through there, it's easy to copy their line. And somehow Hamilton said, you know what? You caught me once, you fooled me once or twice, Mikhail. You won't fool me the third time, and he didn't. Now he's in the DRS range. Now he's the closest he's ever been in the last few laps. Keep within the DRS range. That's going to be all important. Oh, the trigger activation might be just outside. He's 1 second.
Still getting those luck-ups.
Yeah,
He's
Mikhail's
still
closing
looking
the
them
gap.
front tires.
He's going to start chewing through those softs very, very quickly, isn't it? This is a make or break opportunity. I guess he's going to have to just give it everything he possibly can, because sooner or later those softs are just going to completely fall off the cliff, and it looks like they might be starting to fall off the cliff. Look at the exit grip that Mikhail's getting out of those corners. That's 2/10 lost to hammer time, and you'd think on those softs he'd a much more better exit speed, but he's not. I think this might be hammer time over, and he's just going to have to consider. He set the fastest first sector, however, but somehow Mikhail's just reacting every single time that hammer time gets faster. Mikhail's just turning whatever he needs to turn up to just defend as much as possible and just make sure that hammer time is... Oh, there we go. Hammer time might have had a disconnection issue because he's rejoined. But I think, that's cost him half a second already. You can see it dropping down 2 seconds. This is probably definitely over for hammer time. Well, that's the hardest thing as a race engineer. As you know, he's going to box as well. Why? Interesting. He's going to lose a ton of places.
I'm not sure if he's reconnected and the AI has chosen the 12 laps on the top. Might have been time to box. I'm not sure what the call there is.
Oh, that's anyway. I don't think even if he had, that was his last chance, I think, to do anything about Macau, and they're going to run completely out of time right now.
We're going to have a talk about that one.
Red Hornet is getting past down at P5. Racer 33, a bit of a lone race there. 11 seconds off Macau. 7 seconds to Red Hornet. He's probably wondering where the cars are in Silverstone. He's like, is anybody racing in Silverstone? Because I can't see anybody. That's what it feels like, doesn't it, when you're in the middle of the field? Let's not take it away from Becky B at the moment, but absolutely leading this race. Putting in some serious good pace still, 127.8. Dragon was putting in a 127.6. Just matching the speed, but comfortably still maintaining that half a second gap that somehow Dragonbone cannot do anything about. He's absolutely sick of seeing Becky B ahead of him for most of this race, but he's probably going to have to continue to do that for the last 2 laps of this race. But remember, Dragonbone has those penalties, so he's got to be more importantly to worry about what's happening behind him with Macau, because Macau has 3 seconds penalties. He needs to keep a 3-second gap to Macau, and hopefully the telemetry information can come up soon to show us as they cross the line. What is Macau behind Dragonbone? 4.2. So Dragon still is going to retain P2 in this race.
Cow and Becky B, the two that chose not to qualify, both gaining 10 positions from the start. I've actually considered that how quickly they caught up to Dragonbone. I thought they'd just blast past him, but I think he's done a really good job to actually keep pace with the leaders.
Big lockups occurring from all these drivers at the moment. They don't have to worry too much about that. Flat spotting some tyres as they only have 2 laps to go. And I'm sure these drivers do not feel the whole bump that you'd feel. I think as our Formula 1 commentator Martin Brundle would always say over and over again, he's like, they'll rattle the fillings out of your teeth when you lock up those tyres, essentially turning a round tyre into a square tyre. But these drivers, luckily in the simulation, do not have to feel that. They'll only feel that in the force feedback. They won't feel that in the whole car shaking. But Becky B is pretty much going to have this in the bag, isn't he?
Looking like it. The gap from Becky and Dragonborn is not changing much, unless Dragonborn decides to go for a send it moment and goes for one of the.
Dragonbone has 1 lap to attempt to get a 1.1 second gap to retain that position with his 6 seconds of penalties.
6 seconds of penalties,
That
exactly.
is-
Even if he sends it up the inside, he can't gain
Yeah, that
6
is very
seconds.
true. I forgot
As-
about the penalties for a second.
As
there.
hammer time on those fresh softs now is going to go for the fastest lap. I would expect that. At least hammer time is going to be damage limitation in P6. Locking up, he's got some serious pace. I expect hammer time. He's visited the pit. Like the guys down the pit lane are absolutely sick of seeing him as he sets the fastest lap, as to be expected. So there you go. He gets a point, but drops back down to P6. But his team is like, please do not visit us again. We're sick of seeing you. Finish the race, Mr. Hammer Time.
It's very unfortunate for Hammer Time. I was hoping to see good results, mainly because, as I said, we saw in the first pit stop he started mediums, he boxed for hards, and then boxed back for mediums the next lap under the same safety car.
So we've got a little bit of entertainment between BTFU and Stryfium running in P8 and P9, crucial points there. But BTFU has those fresher, so 10 lap softs, but Stryfium has 16 laps. So we're going to get a little bit of entertainment towards the end of the race between these two drivers, scrabbling out for little bits of dibs of points at the end. Both of them have a ton of penalties as well. Actually, no, they don't. Stryfium has no penalties. So he doesn't even need to battle. He's already going to get that position. In fact, he's probably going to go a lot further up the grid as Becky B wins the race. Sorry, Becky B, missed that.
Yeah, Becky B wins the race. I was watching as Dragonborn keeps his second place. So
Could Macau have penalties?
So
3 seconds,
Macau
yes.
must have had.
He does.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's just enough for
Well
him
done,
to keep his position with the 4 second gap that he had at the beginning with Dragonborn. So
Hammer Time's going to cross the line and see what Hammer Time can do. He has there's no penalties, so he might gain a little bit here. No, he won't. There's a little bit further back down. Simply will cross the line for P7. Actually, no, he will slot the line for P8 because he had 9 seconds of penalties. Didn't quite see what happened a little bit further back. We will in any second.
all the action was at the front. There's your driver of the day, Macau.
There you go, Mr. Shiv. But we don't get to see a shoey in the podium because Becky B's not going to do a shoey for us.
It was never added as a animation to this game.
I will keep asking every single day, but the Americans have dominated there, and the Australian of Macau will slot into P3. And I will I will still say every single day, give us a shoey, give us a shoey, give us a shoey. Hashtag give us a shoey, Codemasters. But let's not take it away from Becky B. You want to read through the grid positions there, guys?
Yeah, so this one, so we got Becky B starting from 11th, coming in first. Clean drive too, no penalties. We got Dragonbone in second, Macau in third, Racer 33 in fourth, Red Hornet in fifth, Hammer Time in sixth with the fastest lap and no penalties. MRL BTFU in seventh, Simply Air in eighth, Stryfium in ninth, Zotek in Exotic, in 10th, Kermit in 11th, Max Pena in 12th, and MRL Henners in 13th with 3 DNFs down the end.
You have it. Unfortunately for Hennes, I really want Hennes to do better. Come on, Hennes. I told you I'm not retiring my microphone until you do it, but can't take it away.
Who gets the time penalty?
Time.
So if it wasn't for
Exotic,
Macau,
17 seconds.
yeah, the time penalty award does go to Exotic actually, and 17 seconds of penalty. So there you go. You get some award. You get a point at least as well, but you get the FedEx time penalty award. It's been fun, right, guys? It's almost been an absolute American domination. If it wasn't Macau just slotting in there in P3, you would have had 6 drivers winning this race from the United States of America. And 2 Canadians slotting in there behind, a few more drivers from... And Mexican Panda there slotting in, even though he's showing I believe it's a Colombian flag, so whether he's Mexican or Colombian, still has the NA symbol, so he's got some Spanish in there. What do you think about that one, guys?
I'm just looking at Hammer Time with them 4 pit stops. With the last one not being by him, but I think this has been a really, really good and entertaining race with battles going all over the place.
Certainly has
I
been.
look forward to seeing seen the next one, that's for sure.
I don't believe we can go into the interview room because I don't think we all have permissions to go in there. So we might just have to leave it like that. You guys can all decide. And you can see there we are streaming this on YouTube. Once again, Jim Bob has come in. Jim Bob Jeff, sorry, I keep forgetting the Jeff. My apologies. Joined in my Southern Hemisphere comrade, or mate, shall we say, down under, of Shiv. So I miss Australia too, my dear mate. I'm living in Panama. I do miss it. I wish I could just jump across. But your airports are closed. I'm not allowed to enter the country. So this is the home of PPR Esports. Once again, another entertaining race. And this is Division 2 as well. So these guys have some serious pace, just as much as Division 1. And United Kingdom and Silverstone, especially with the Queen having her dogs poop all over the track and slip out a few of the drivers that we've seen. So this is the home of F1 iRacing and ACC, Xbox, PC, whatever platform you need. These guys race it in it. And if you want any more information, by all means, all the links are there for the website, for the Discord channels. You can debate about what happened during this race in the Discord channel. All you have to do is click and join. So that's it, I think. We'll just need to sit down and retire and relax. Now let's go hang out with the Queen and have some champagne. What do you think? I don't know. You got a flight back to Australia there, Shiv, so we'll get that jet fired up for you. Jim Bob, don't have to go too far. We can probably order you an Uber. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. And thank you very much for following. So we shall all see you again.